Respected Principal Ma'am, Professor Dr. Shudapa Mukherjee, Emeritus Professor and former Dean Academics Professor Dr. B.N. Chatterjee Sir, all HODs, faculty and staff members of BPPIMT family, and participants from various states of India, research scholars, students, and other working professionals, a very good afternoon to all of you. I, Rini Bhattacharya, welcome you all on behalf of Department of Computer Applications on the third day of workshop on machine learning in data science. Today, as we know, we have the hands-on session. Now, I would like to introduce our today's speaker, Mr. Rajan Brahma. He was a part of our Master of Computer Applications, BPP IMT family. He has completed his MCA in the year 2017 and presently working in Owens as a product engineer. So without taking any more further time, I would like to call Mr. Rajan Rama to take over the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rini, for such a lovely introduction. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining this session. And a big thank you to all of the organizing committee members, and especially to Inaduti ma'am and Arijit sir for giving me a chance to share my knowledge. I really thank you from my heart. So let me present my screen. Well, wait a second, share. Okay, share. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. So I'm guessing most of the audience are students, maybe from fourth year or final year, I would say. So I would keep, yeah. You're saying something?
Yeah, Rajan, many of them are from different institutes.
Okay, yeah,
The course comprises of both the students, faculty, staff members from varied zones of India. So you have to
Okay.
address all of them, right?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, considering all of these facts in my mind, I would make this session very interactive, and if anybody has any question, just unmute yourself and ask the question to me, okay, in any language you are comfortable with. So who am I exactly? Apart from whatsoever written on this screen, who am I exactly? So I would take all of you with me to in the year 2011 when I started my college life. Okay, so after my 12th exam from some typical Bengali medium college, local college, school, sorry. Then I applied for joint entrance exam, but unfortunately I couldn't get a good rank so that I could get an admission in a government college, and at the same time I couldn't sponsor myself for any for a private engineering college. So as an alternative, I pursued computer science honors under West Bengal State University. After 3 years of completing honors, then I appeared for JECA, which is actually equivalent to joint entrance, and it is for only for MCA exams. So in that exam, I also said the same. I mean, again, I didn't get a good score to get into a government college. But at this point of time, I had no other options. I had to pursue MCA, right? I didn't work. I didn't want to work that time. So after a very calculated research and after speaking to so many seniors, I decided to join BYMT, and hence I joined BYMT after 3 months of 3 years of awesomeness. Like the MCA became to a part of my family. So I would like to give a shout out to all the MCA guys and to all the BYMT candidates actually. So then the placement session came, and again I screwed up everything. Like I didn't get a chance in big MNCs. Then I got rejected in small couple of companies. Then I started to feel that I was not good enough. Whatever I do, like I cannot express myself. I think there was some problem with me. This is what I used to think back then in 2017 during our placement session, until this happened. So as you can see, there are a couple of logos of some companies. So I would like to give a shout out to Third Eye Data, where I got placed, where they give me an opportunity to work as a data engineer with them. Actually, they actually really understand what my inner what inner myself is. So in Third Eye Data, the first couple of month was very exhausting. Like it was very hard to cope up with them, and I was getting scolded at every now and then. Like it was very hard. So my confidence level was kind of grounded to zero. I lost kind of everything, every moral. But I had no option. I had to continue with them. So, but all of this got ended in 2018, mid of 2018, where I single-handedly completed a difficult project for one of our customers, who are Symantec. Symantec is actually the owner of Norton Antivirus. So I completed that project and I became the employee of the year, and I got a huge salary hike. Then my confidence got hugely boosted. It was like confidence into 100 ho gaya, something like that. So then after that, I became core team member of Microsoft Stack. Then at that point of time, I used to work in Microsoft Azure Cloud Platform and Microsoft Power BI as a data analyst, and then ASP.NET. So basically, I was in the core team member of Microsoft Stack, and I was directly working with Microsoft itself. So all the awesomeness comes to an end eventually, right? So at the end of 2019, it was August 2019, I joined Ovons.com. So it is actually a partner company of E365 Entertainment Everyday. Okay, so E365 is one of the leading event organizers in India. Okay, so Ovons.com is a partner company of them. So the owner of Ovons.com, Mr. Manish Shah, gave me such an opportunity to work as a product architect. Okay, so I got to learn so many things. I'm currently working on AWS specifically and building a data architecture, software architecture, and also I'm developing it with my team members. So big shout out to Ovons.com as well. And you guys can check out their websites. Just Google them, and you'll find the link in the first page. And another thing is the guy in a cube. Yes, I don't know. Personally, don't know them, and they don't me either, because this is just an YouTube channel. Okay, so they upload videos on Power BI and data analytics very often, and they guys are very cool. Okay, so to all the students, you guys can check out their website and YouTube channel. So with that said, let's move on to today's session. So firstly, we'll discuss about importance of data and how we categorize all the data. And in real world application, it is not similar to data type, right? Like integer, floating type numbers, strings. No, not like that. There are different perspectives. Okay, I'll discuss everything. Then data pipeline, ETL processes. I'm assuming that you guys have basic understanding of what ETL is. Okay, so after that we'll move into an example. Then we'll move into Power BI. And after that, we'll work on Power BI hands-on, okay, with respect to ETL process. So again, if you have any questions, just unmute yourself, ask the question in whichever language you are comfortable in. Okay, so data. So, someone said, I don't know who said, but it's in the internet, you can search that later. There are people, by 2020, for each person, 1.7 MB of data gets generated per second. For each person, 1.7 MB of data. So you can imagine, like in a day, how much data gets generated for a person. So you may ask the question, what does it mean for a person? What does it mean? What data? So they are not stick with mobile devices and laptops all the time. No. data is not limited to only devices. Data is about everything. Everything you can look around, like how a person is walking, a walking person. So the data should be like how tall he is, okay, then is he a male or female, and what kind of dress they are wearing. All of these are data. So if you look around, maybe you are using a table or a chair right now, okay, so if you observe carefully, you will figure out so many data about them. For example, I'm sitting on a chair right now, so the chair is made of plastic, and the brand's name, I don't know what the brand name is, by the way. So it has four support things, and it's kind of brownish color. And so if you look deeper, you will be able to find that who is the manufacturer. So when it got manufactured, okay, how the manufacturer is doing right now, is there a demand in the market for this chair or not? Okay, if you dig more further, then you can analyze the company's historical data, like the evolution of the particular product. Okay, like initially when they launched the product, how was it and how is it now? Okay, so so if you try to evaluate everything around yourself, then you can find so much data. But in the real world application, okay, in the real world scenario, if you are working with automobile company, for example, um, it doesn't matter how a person is working or how a chair is, right? It's actually, you have to find the data in your work domain. Okay, so if you're working with some data analytics project, you cannot explore data about some other projects, right? You have to focus on that. So give a broad focus on a particular area. You always should find some point of data sources about it. It doesn't matter you are a data scientist or data engineer or a simple software developer. It doesn't matter. You have to find data, because data is the new oil, some say. Why does people say data is the new oil, right? Consider ByteDance. ByteDance is the owner of TikTok. Okay, so they are $1 billion company, and so as you probably know, all of you know that TikTok got banned because it steals data and all. So why do they steal data? What do they do with our data? Like, for example, what I am wearing today, what video I am making today. So it doesn't concern $1 billion company. I hardly earn some few thousand rupees in month. Okay, so why would they collect my data? Maybe it is the right statement that they will not do anything with our data, but they are concerned about aggregation. They will aggregate the data and bring something out of it. Like, for example, how many percentage of millennials in Kolkata city, goes to college, then so if you think deeper and deeper, you will get so many questions about data. So if able to answer the questions related to data, then nobody is going to stop you. You're going to be a millionaire in the future. So that makes sense, I guess, why data is a new oil and it is not a myth anymore, because it is real. Okay, so with that said, let's move on to the next slide, that is views of data. And I should say this should be category of data, but I'd still say it is a view of data. Why it is a view of data? What does it mean? So if you search in the internet, you will find millions of resources, like how people categorize data in several categories, but you will get completely lost in them, because if you read some book, there are some kind of data. If you read another book, there are some another definitions of categories of data, right? So it actually depends on how you look at your data. What is your perspective? Okay, that is why I said views of data. How do I view the data? So in my point of view, there are 6 broad categories of data. Maybe in the real world there are 60 broad categories of data, and it is not wrong. It is absolutely right. Okay, but in my perspective, there are 6 broad categories of data, which is statistical.
Rajan, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just put on the slideshow so that we could, the viewers could view it properly. The
Oh,
slideshow
okay.
is not enabled. Yes.
Oh, okay. Right, right. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
this button.
F5. Yes, yes.
Okay,
Thanks.
okay.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay. So statistical, right? So you can see, as you can guess, obviously there is quantitative and qualitative. Yeah, all of you know, I guess you guys are smart. So qualitative, obviously, BBPIMT is a very good college, engineering college, right? This is qualitative data. And I am giving BBPIMT 5 out of 5 stars. That is quantitative data. Obviously, there are so many subcategories, but I'm not going into that, okay? Then management perspective, first party, second party, third party data. What does it mean? Say for example, you are an organization, okay? So say yeah, there are so many softwares that you own and people are using those softwares, you are collecting all the data. So you have the ownership of the data. So from your perspective, the data is the first party data. Okay, now what is second party data? So again, that previous example, you have a software, you own the domain, and you manage all the software, but the data gets generated by the software is getting managed by some professional, some third-party professional company. Okay, maybe there are some contracts within those companies. So they manage your data more efficiently. Okay, so this is the second-party data for their perspective, for the company's perspective. Okay, now what is third-party data? Third party data means I am a company and my business is selling data. Simple as that. How am I getting the data? Whose data there? I won't tell you. Okay. I want the data. That's the thing. That's the first thing and the last thing. If you want to buy it, then buy it. If you don't buy it, then don't. Okay. So I won't tell you whose data it is, but I own this lot of data. So this is called third party data. And if you go to the commercial perspective, there is O data and X data. What does it mean? O data means operational data. So for example, I love, like to, drink Coca-Cola every day. Okay. So for last, 8 years or 10 years, I've been drinking Coca-Cola every now and then. Okay. That means tomorrow there is 99% chance that I will buy another Coca-Cola and day after tomorrow and so on. So this is the operational data. Based on that, I am able to determine that I would definitely buy some Coca-Cola in tomorrow. Okay. Now, what is X data? X data means experimental data. So, given the previous example, I love Coca-Cola, but it's true that for past 8 years I've been drinking Coca-Cola every now and then every day. Okay, but I got diagnosed with some liver problem today, just today. And the doctor told me it's completely banned for you to drink Coca-Cola anymore. So with that particular thing, and for example, another example, say I got bankrupt. I don't have a single penny with me so that I could buy a Coca-Cola tomorrow, right? So we have O data plus data surrounding you and data which related to you. So O data plus data surrounding you is equal to X data, experimental data. Okay. So O data and X data are responsible for making business decisions so effectively, And obviously there are another type, structural. I guess you are familiar with it, structured, unstructured data. And some people say semi-structured data. And trust me, I don't understand exactly what a semi-structured data is. So for my perspective, it is structured and unstructured. That's it. So structured data, you can probably guess that you can store the data in some typical RDBMS system. And for the unstructured data, like you have to use NoSQL databases or flat files. So what exactly the difference is? Like for example, if we have student schema, okay, and the schema has 5 attributes, like say name, first name, last name, address, phone number, and etc. Okay, 5 attributes. So we know whenever a data comes to me, there will be these 5 attributes only. Okay, and we will store the data in our schema database, that is RDBMS. But what if we don't know the schema earlier? Like for a student, there might be 2 attributes. For another student, there might be 20 attributes. We don't know what the attributes is. But in data ecosystem, in the data world, we are not allowed to lose any data. Nobody is allowed to lose any data. Whatever the data comes, you must store it somewhere else. Maybe you don't need the data for the time being, but you have to store it. Okay, so you may take the data in whatever format and put it in a flat file, and the file gets stored in some file system or something. Okay, so this is the unstructured data. So with that said, let's get to historical data. Okay, so logs. What logs is? Logs can be subcategorized by so many things. Okay, but in overall view, logs is like what you are doing, what you are searching right now. For example, you have a search engine and you are searching for some entity in that search engine, and using what device at what time on what date you are searching for that entity in the search engine. So I am recording this data. So maybe my current concern is what you are searching. Okay, but it's not concerned for me right now that from which device you are searching, what time you are searching. Okay, so we store everything as a log data. Maybe if you are in the software engineering field, like maybe if you get into a company, then the people will talk about error logs, some function logs, something like that. Okay, so these are also a type of log data. So you can later on later on see that at what time there was some errors, and according to that you can get an action. Okay, so the data at rest. What is data at rest? So getting back to the previous example, like what you are searching right now, and from what device you are searching, at what time you are searching the data, the entity. So you don't need the device information and the time information right now. Maybe right now you're concerned with what you are searching, right? So the rest of the data you will store store it in some data warehouse system. So this is called data at rest. So what is the use of data at rest, right? So you are not using it actively. Maybe once a year you will look at it, but why would you look at it? So if you think deeply, that you can make relevance, you can make something out of it, right? For example, if you are collecting data for a particular searcher, okay, for last 10 years, so you may observe that initial 5 years the user was searching something from an Android device. Then after some time the user was searching their some more thing from an iOS device, like for example iPhone. And after that, after another year, you may find that the user was searching from an MacBook Pro. Okay, so that means the expensiveness got increased gradually, right? For example, like initially you are searching from an Android device, then something happened, maybe your salary got increased, or maybe you got a job, then you switched to iPhone. Okay, then after some time maybe you saved a lot of money, then you bought an MacBook Pro. Okay, so these are the very important data, because if I would the data manager, I would sell those data to Amazon or Flipkart, right? So they can understand, okay, these guys they can afford some expensive things, so I can recommend them some based on some features. Okay, so this is the use of data at rest. And last but not the least, segmentation. Segmentation is basically applying filter in some raw data. So if you have a repository of 1,000 people, and all kind of people, okay, male, female, college students, then students who are people who are doing jobs, etc. So you can segment those people based on some attributes, like for example, how many students are from Kolkata location, that is geographic data. How many students are male, how many students are female, that is demographic data. And what the student is searching, where the student is going. Okay, so this kind of data in an aggregated way gives you a behavioral data, what his behavior is. Okay, so with that said, let's move to the next slide. So this slide actually represents the role of a data analyst. Okay, so inspecting data, cleaning data, transforming, modeling, and visualizing, obviously. So it actually depends on organization, that what your role exactly should be. Like for example, in my company, I have to deal with all of these steps, okay, because we are very short in people, so I have a lot of things to do. So but if you go into MNC, big companies, maybe inspecting data is a role of a data analyst, or there is some other categories of data analysts who are responsible for transforming data and make a model out of it. Okay, so the role of data analyst should be can be all of the steps or at least one of the steps. Okay, so these are called data analyst's role. And in this context, I would like to say that this is not a data science presentation, because I'm not in the data science domain. I'm kind of data analyst and as a full stack developer and a product architect. Okay, so if you have any questions regarding that, feel free to ask me. And questions may not be only necessarily to related to Power BI on data analytics, but you can ask me questions on data, the data management and software development, etc. Career guidance, whatever you want. Okay. Okay. So data pipelining. So as you can see, there is a pipeline structure, but I would say that do not confuse data pipeline with water pipelines. Okay, do not compare those things, because in a water pipeline, water gets continuously, it gets flows in continuous manner. Okay, but in a data pipeline, it may not be a continuous. It may be in the pipeline, it may be get stored in some cache or some databases like Redis or something. Okay, so in memory, okay, in temporary files. So so if you have incoming data from site, for example, some IoT device or some data sources, okay, some website, so all of the data kind of gets aggregated, for example, and so they go through some processes, and they get injected in some database or some another pipeline or some in fat file. It depends on the use case. So the whole process gets orchestrated. Okay, so for orchestration there are so many tools, for example Azure Data Factory or something. So so they are actually, these kind of tools actually responsible for for the continuous data flow or storing the data temporarily in the pipeline. Okay, so this is the data pipeline in as an overview. Okay, so this is a real life example of a data pipeline architecture. I just downloaded it from the internet. So many of you maybe won't understand, especially the students won't understand what that Azure Active Directory is, analysis services, data factories. Okay, so don't need to understand, just look at the process, look at the steps. Okay, the data source gets stored in some kind of repository like storage, we call it blob storage. And Azure Data Factory, what it does is takes those storage items from the storage and moves it to the data warehouse. Okay, so Azure Data Factory, we have to configure the Azure Data Factory in such a manner to do that. Okay, so there are some analysis services which actually processes those data, maybe some ETL processes going on there, and the output of the data gets visualized in Power BI. Okay, so you don't have to worry about all these intermediate steps, but just take a look at the overview. So ETL, what is ETL? How it is different from data pipeline? Does anyone have any question? I guess no. Okay. So ETL and data pipeline, how those two things are different. So ETL is a subset of a data pipeline. Okay. So whenever you are performing such steps, like for example, extracting data, then some steps happening in here like transforming, cleaning, and ingestion, and as an output, you are creating models, and the models get stored in the data warehouse or something. So as you probably guess that ETL stands for extract, transform, and load, and it is a must-know framework for data methods. The extract step refers to the process of pulling, extracting raw data or broad data from its original source, and then we set up a connection for each data source we want to use by leveraging an array of data connector options available in data tools, for example Power BI. Okay, so we can divide the transformation steps into 3 distinct smaller processes. Okay, one is data cleaning. So as you can probably guess what data cleaning is, I won't go into detail on that. And data integration, like joining two tables. This is kind of an example of data integration. And data enrichment, like for example, you have selling price and production cost. So you have to make profit out of it. So this is called enrichment. You are enriching the data. You are getting something out of the data to make a better business decision. Okay. So this is a Power BI. What a Power BI is? So I would say Power BI is analytics visualization ETL tool introduced by Microsoft in 2015. So so in the last few years, we see a surge in data volume and speed, as well as increased in demand. Okay, why the demand is to analyze the data and bring something out of it. So Power BI allows us to scale up to this demand and creating visuals out of it, creating models and reports out of it. And Power BI allows us to share those visuals and dashboards across your organization or across your teammates of a project. Okay, so for that you may have to obtain Power BI Pro license. There are a couple of licensing policy in Power BI ecosystem. You can Google that later, but we won't focus that on Power BI Pro license or Power BI Premium licenses. Okay, you can Google that on. So we will mostly focus on the ETL aspect of Power BI. So we would use Power BI desktop for ETL processes. So we can separate the Power BI capabilities into 3 levels. First, we can monitor the data trends, and secondly, so we can analyze the trends as well. And thirdly, we can make a decision and forecast the future trends. Okay, and how Power BI works. So as I already said, XETL, right? So you can import data, transform, and visualize. And keep that in mind that data transformation must not change the original data. Okay, if you are changing the original data, you are not a good data engineer. Okay, original data cannot be changed at any point of time. Okay, so Power BI does import all the data and keeps the imported data in memory, like for RAM, and then from talking to the user, based on the user's input, it transforms the data, and based on the user's input as well, it visualizes the data. Okay, because data is without visualization is nothing. I'd give you an example. So with that said, so does anyone have any questions so far? Because we are now moving into hands-on session.
Yeah, here is a question, Rajan. What is the meaning of cleaning? Because you say no data will be deleted.
No data will be deleted.
Yeah.
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. See, so the cleaning is, if no data gets deleted, that's fine. But cleaning is the domain of the data. Like for example, as I said, you may not need the person what is searching right now. Okay, sorry, from which device is searching right now, at what time. You don't need that, but you don't delete it either. You keep a separate copy, and the field you are interested in, you extract the field from the entire database, from the entire data set, and then you clean it up. Okay, so So for during the cleaning of data, if you delete some of the data, that's okay, because you already have a backup, right? You already put some raw data in some kind of repository. But yes, it is also true that we are not always keep all the data, because maybe after some time, maybe after a year or two, data gets deleted, obviously, which are data in rest. Okay, so it actually depends on business use cases. So I hope that makes sense.
Rajan, yes, in Aditi ma'am here, there are few questions in the chat box. Few questions regarding what exactly do you mean by what are the different two types of data you have taken into consideration? That is, sir, can you please explain the two types of data, and please can you repeat the use of data in REST? Okay.
Okay, I can explain the use of data in REST, but I didn't understand the first part. Two types of data. This is the types of data I discussed.
Yeah, you have actually explained different types of data: statistical management.
Yeah. So again, it actually, maybe what I'm saying in this slide, you may not find this somewhere else. Okay, maybe in the book there is totally something different written. So you may think, hey, this guy, this guy was fake. No, it is not, because it actually depends on view, how you view the data, how you consider your data. Okay, so based on that, I have divided all the data into consideration in 6 broad categories.
Yes. So another question is the use of data in REST.
Yeah.
What is the use? Data in REST means in the data warehouse, I hope.
That's correct. Maybe yeah. Please go ahead.
So what is the use of data in REST? One of the students from MCA is asking.
Yeah. So as I said earlier, that okay, giving back to the typical same example, like for example, you are searching something with some device at some point of time. Okay, so you just the analyst needs what the user is searching right now. Okay, maybe he's searching about Sushant Singh Rajput, for example, but maybe right now they don't need from which device the user is searching, from at what point of time he is searching, right? So we kind of archive those data to some secure place, like a data warehouse. Okay, I'm not going into detail what a data warehouse is, but it's kind of similar to database. Like, we don't touch the data warehouse that much. Okay, we don't touch it regularly. So after maybe after a week, or maybe after a year, it actually depends on business use cases when we touch the data at rest.
Yes, thank you, Rajan. You may continue with the Power BI.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm expecting that whoever wants to work with me, like they have Power BI desktop installed in their machine. So I shall I continue?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Rajan.
Okay. Cool.
You may continue.
Okay. So before directly jumping into Power BI, let me show you some code. Okay, I have shared the GitHub URL of this code with Arijit sir, and probably some of you installed Node.js and VS Code in your system. So I will not explain the code, because it's doesn't make any sense, right? It is just generating some dummy data. Okay, so if you have pulled the code base from the GitHub, from master repository, wait a second. Yeah, so then you'll be able to continue with me. Okay, so first of all, I would run npm install. Okay, npm is similar to pip in Python. I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with Python. So it is actually package manager. So maybe in this particular code, we are using a third-party package like Moment.js. Okay, so we are downloading the masters of the library Moment.js by npm install. So you can walk along with me. Okay, cool. So you can see that node modules is here. Okay, I'm not going to details what node module is and what package.json is because it is not a Node.js session, and I just use Node.js and this code because I need to generate some data. And why I use Node.js because recently I'm working with Node.js projects, so I'm more familiar with JavaScript right now. So you can generate data in your own favorite language. That's not a problem. Okay, the data is the main thing. Okay, so if I run that node logic.js, then see there is a CSV file generated out.csv. If you open this file, you can see some data has been generated. Okay, some noise is there. As you can see, I'm highlighting here. So then we have to clean the data set because we are seeing that rs dot space then 400. Okay, we cannot do numerical operation with that field. Okay, like rs dot space, this is a string part, and eventually the entire field becomes a string, and you cannot perform a numerical operation on string, obviously. So we have to clean those data, reshape those data, and you can see there are a lot of redundant data. We really don't appreciate data redundancy. Okay, so there are so let me tell you a background behind this data. What is the data actually? So the data is actually represents the sales of a particular of some products. Okay, say for example, I am a company and I own 3 products. Okay, P1, P2, P3. Okay, and I have couple of outlets all over India, maybe 2 in Kolkata and 1 in Mumbai and 1 in New Delhi. Okay, so we have the data for 10 years. Okay, so you can generate the data according to your choice. In settings.js you have to go and you can change the dates. Okay, so as you can see, I am generating data from 1st January 2010 to 31st December 2019. Okay, 10 years of data. So you can change based on your requirements. So we have 10 years of data, but what data? Like, for example, for each store, there are records for each product, for each store. And for each product, we have demand. Sorry. We have demand and supply, that is, which is 260, 234, right? So demand means how many people searched for this product in that particular outlet at on this date. Okay, so did we meet the demand? Did we have enough supply to satisfy all the customers? So we have to find an answer for that. And also we have production cost of every product. Okay, so keeping that in mind, that the products gets expired in a single day. Okay, this is maybe some kind of a bread or something. So if you produce the bread today, by end of the day you have to sell it. This is the constraint, you can say. Okay, and the production cost and the selling price doesn't change throughout 10 years. Okay, you have to maintain the constraints, but this is not at all a real life example. It is just a dummy data. Okay, with that said, I hope all of you have generated the data, and those who are not using Node.js and all, for them, they can download the data set from a GitHub URL, which I shared with Arijit sir. And then let's move on to Power BI. And we are seeing that this is a editor. Okay, this is a visualization editor. Let's minimize those tabs. Okay, so we have a get data option. Get data, and you can see there are so many numbers of sources that Power BI gives you. Okay, see, there are so many sources. Okay, you can connect Power BI to any cloud-based services. You can connect Power BI to a JSON service. Okay, JSON format data, SharePoint. Okay, so so for the time being, I'm connecting to CSV, and let me check the location of the data. It is in college PPT. Okay, okay. So college PPT out.csv. This is the file that I generated right now. Okay, so we are now connecting to the data. Okay, we are currently at connection stage. As you can see, Power BI has imported some of the sample of data. Okay, there are around 50,000 data in here, but it is showing just some of the data in maybe first 10-20 rows, whatever. So there are options like load and transform data. As you can relate to the slide where it is, yeah, extraction, transformation, load. Okay, or extraction, load, transformation, both are correct. Maybe you load first, then you transform, or you transform on the fly, then you load the transformed data. Okay, it depends on how your use case is. So what I'll do, I'll transform the data first. Okay, so as you can see, a new window just got opened. See, this is a new window, Power Query Editor. Okay, so the data is not in Power BI yet, it is on fly. Okay, so the very cool thing about Power Query Editor is it is actually called kitchen of Power BI. These are all the masalas that you need. These may be turmeric powder, this is salt, this is etc. Okay, and this is not my example. I just watched a YouTube videos regarding that, so I find it really helpful and funny. So this is actually called Power BI's kitchen, where you perform all the master operations that you want to use. So what I'll do, first I'll get rid of these two dummy data, like that, not dummy data, but that we don't need these fields, right? We have to start with number 4 column. This is the column header, as you can guess, and all the data are here. So what I'll do, we'll remove the first column, the first row. Okay, so just click on here, remove top rows, then we'll tell the Power BI system that how many number of rows we are trying to remove. So I'll say 3. Okay, and here you go, 3 rows has been deleted. And as you can see in the applied step part, all the action is getting recorded. Why it is getting recorded? Because refer to this slide, orchestration, right? For example, I am performing these all operations on a particular data set. What about a new data set comes with same schema? Obviously, what about a new data set comes? Do we have to perform all these steps manually? No, the Power BI will orchestrate the entire system for you. Okay, this is the reason Power BI records all the applied steps in here. So if using that applied steps section, you can undo some operation if you need to. Okay, so
Rajan, in Aditi ma'am here, yes. Can you please just go little bit slow, and can you please repeat? Can you please repeat the instruction how to get the Power Query Editor? Because
sure.
Yes, someone is asking in the chat box right now.
Okay.
So after you have extracted the CSV file, I hope how you have to again go to the that transformation to Power Query Editor that somebody wants to ask. Fine.
Okay. So we are cool with this part, right? We have generated the data, right?
Yes.
Okay. So so I just removed the data part. Okay, just Power Query part. I'll do that again. So just click on get data, and then like text or CSV. Okay, then click on that. Okay, then the data set you have to choose. the file name is out.csv by default. Open and see.
Rajan, go through again the generate data part again.
Generate data part again. Okay. So
Okay.
so the Node.js part.
Yeah, Node.js part.
Okay. So what I'm doing here is that first of all, I'm doing npm install. Okay. So npm install means pip3 install whatever you want to install in your system, right? So similar to npm install, this is both the same. So npm install will actually install moment.js for your project. Okay. So we are using moment.js maybe in this settings file. As you can see, require moment. But for the time being, you don't have to understand all these codes here. Okay, just do blindly what I'm saying. Just you can go to settings page and settings file, and you can alter the date according to your choice. Okay. Am I not presenting? Hello.
Yeah, Rajan, you are presenting. It seems somebody else is also maybe mishandled and tried.
Okay.
Maybe. You carry on. Okay.
Okay, cool. So so in the terminal part, okay, let me show you how can I open the terminal part. Just in VS Code, go to the terminal, new terminal, okay, and in that file, in that command prompt, you just write npm install. Okay, so are we cool so far?
So you're on
I don't know how to.
Yes, somebody else wants to again query. Yeah, please carry on.
I don't know. I didn't get that part. How to get the out.csv file? You just started from. You opened the Node.js and you started from this out.csv. But when we downloaded the files from GitHub, there was no out.csv file. Right?
Okay. Like so you are using the Node.js part, right?
Yeah. Sir.
Okay, so can you please check in the logic.js folder the path of the output out.csv, maybe line number 8? What does it say?
Line number 8.
Yeah, in logic.js file.
Let writer equals to fs.
Sorry?
Line number 8 is let writer. Line number 8 is let writer equals to fs.create writer stream.
Then what's the parameter?
No path.
Sorry?
Dot.
Okay. There is a dot. Okay. So you have to go upside the current directory. Okay. Just go back one level back from your current directory. Okay. You will find the out.csv file. Have you found it?
Okay. No, sir, I haven't found it yet.
Okay, you didn't find it. Is there any error in your console?
No, sir.
When you generated the data, like node logic.js? Did it print like this, ended and total data recorded this?
Wait a little. No logic.
Okay, no worries. If you are having difficulties to generate the data, I have already shared another GitHub URL with Arijit sir. From there you can download the CSV file as well. Okay. We are not concerned with how it generate the data. We are concerned with the generated data. Okay. So don't worry about it. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, anytime. So so far we have connected to our data, and let me go through it again. Out.csv, open. We are now connecting to our data set, and we want to transform the data on the fly. So this is how we open Power Query Editor. So is there any problem anyone facing?
Yes, again, repeat the task, how to open the Power Query Editor.
Okay. So just click on get data part, then text/CSV. Okay.
Okay.
Then navigate. Navigate through your data source. Okay, like whichever folder. Maybe you have to go one level upwards. Maybe, I don't know. Depends on your system. So you have to navigate to the your outdoor CSV file and click on that and click open.
Okay. Fine.
So yeah, so this is the overview of the data that Power BI is serving to you. Okay, so instead of loading the data into the memory, we are transforming the data on the fly. So click on transform data.
Transform data. Fine.
Okay, so by clicking on transform data, you are now in Power Query Editor.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so let me delete all the queries in here. Okay, what do you mean by queries? Actually, as you can see in my screen, in the left side of my query editor, there is a tab called queries. Okay, so what does that mean? So do not confuse queries with SQL. Okay, maybe you are used to have that write a query to get data from this, perform some operation, write a query to do that. Do not get confused with that, because in queries in Power BI, queries means the output of the query. Okay, output. This is a query. Okay, so keep that in mind. So what we are doing, I'm just let me delete the queries that was created during the example. Okay, here we go. We have out. Okay, the default query name is the file name. Okay, so the query name is out. Okay, so we have removed some unnecessary fields, right? So we will never require these fields anymore, right? So we can safely delete that. If somebody asking a question, like I said that data should not be deleted, but why am I playing the data? But if you really don't need the data in future as well, maybe BPM 2020, we need that data. Maybe in some after 10-20 years. But these two lines, we definitely don't need that. Okay, that's why you can safely delete that without taking backup. Okay, so let me delete top 3 rows.
Okay, one thing, Rajan,
sure.
If the garbage data are within the or middle of the data set, then how can we found it?
Yes. So garbage data in the middle of the data set, right? So
yeah.
we will go to that step actually. There is some garbage data in the middle of the data set.
Okay.
So yeah, this is a very good question, sir, actually. So we are removing top 3 columns, top 3 rows, and see our first row is our header actually. So we have to promote the first row as a column header, if that makes sense to you. So so we will go here. Let me find the option. Use first row as headers. Okay, click on use first row as headers. So we have now date header, store ID, store name, store location, and etc. So as you can see, Power BI is so much intelligent that it detects the data type. So it is, as you can see the logo here, it is showing that it's a date type data. It is a numeric data. It's a string, production ID, something. Okay. So these are the data. So are we on sync so far?
Yes, Rajan. Any questions from the participants who have installed Power BI? Any questions, queries, right? I hope you may continue, Rajan.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's observe the data closely. Okay, so first of all, you can see that there are so much of redundancy in the data. Okay, like for example, store ID, store name, store location, these got repeated. Okay, so what we will do is a basic database concept. You don't have to understand Power BI. Okay, maybe if you are in the third year or final year, you obviously know we have to create another table for that. So exactly, yes, this is what we are going to do. So, but before that, as you can see, the store name is yummies underscore the location. But at the same time, we have another column which says the location. So which one should I keep? So in at some point of time, as you can see, there is park underscore street and park st dot. Same for Andheri East and Andheri E dot. Okay, so we will go with this. So what we will do, we will delete this column. So right click on that, remove it. So we have removed the column and the applied step got recorded. Okay, now we have store name, but it is not so clean. Okay, because store name and the location got concatenated together. Okay.
So Rajan, yes, can you make the screen as a full screen? The audience, no, then
okay,
you won't be able to.
Okay. So can you please guide me how to turn the as a full screen? Like I'm not familiar with Google Meet. Actually, I'm familiar with Zoom actually. So is it okay now? Like is it full screen?
Just wait. I'm just checking whether it's coming down or not. Just wait a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming.
So is it full screen or something?
Yes, sir. Full screen.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So so are we good so far?
Yes, Rajan, you may continue.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so so what we will do, we will see store name and store ID. These two are repeated, and don't look at the other columns right now. Okay, just look at the selected columns for the time being. So these two are repeated. Sorry, there is so much redundant data. Okay, so what we will do, we will create another table where we will store the store master information. Okay, like master information, say like store name, store address, they are not going to change over time, right? So these are called master records. So what we will do for that, we have to split the columns. We have to concat these two columns and then take the entire column out of this particular table and create another table from that. Okay, let me show you how to do that. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll just select these two columns and right click on any of this, merge columns. Okay, merge columns, separated a colon. Okay, and column name should be stored. Okay, so click on OK. As you can see, these two columns got merged together using a colon delimiter. So what is a delimiter? Delimiter is a kind of a separator. Okay, so what we'll do now, to add another query out of it, we'll just right click on that and just go down, add as new query. Okay, so are we good? Okay, till now, any questions?
So this Rajan, this is the output of the query, that is you have
that's correct. And as you can see, by default it is list type, it's not a table type. Okay,
yes,
yeah.
So just repeat the instruction again.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. What I did is that right click on the store, right click on the store and go down, and we can find that add as new query. Okay, just click on that, you'll able to find this thing. Okay, this list. But in the list type, there are so many missing features, like we cannot do some operations on that list type. So for that, what we will do, we will convert it to table. In the transform tab, there is an option called convert to table. So we will converting it. Yeah. So to table, okay. So it is now a table.
Okay. So it has 2 columns, maybe. The one is the serial number, and another is the mapping of that Yummies Kolkata with 1, and then 2 with Baliganj and so on.
That's correct. That's correct. So what we'll do, we'll just split the columns once more. So split column by delimiter, and the delimiter should be colon. Okay. So we have a table with 2 columns. Then the first column is the ID and the second column is the address. Okay. So let me rename that. Yeah. So let me rename that. Stored ID. And so before renaming the second column, let's take a look at this. You know, it is still a garbage. You know, as you can see. So there are lots.
Rajan, again, few more questions on how you have actually added 2 columns or split those 2 columns.
Yeah, so just right click on the concatenated column, just split column. There is an option for split column. Okay, split by delimiter.
By delimiter, yes.
Okay.
Now tell me, what is the advantage of once you get merged it and again in the new table we are splitting it?
Yes. So if you don't merge it, like for example, let me show you product ID and product name. If we right click, Power BI won't allow it to add as a new query. Okay, it doesn't allow. Okay. Yeah, so it only works for a single column. So why? That is the reason we merged these two. We concatenated these 2 columns and add it as a new query. Okay.
Okay.
What is the concatenated column? Get it. Okay. So in here, okay. So the second column is not clean yet. Okay. So we can, as you can see, Yummies is a stored name. You can split it out of this column. So let's split column by delimiter, and we have to be Please go ahead.
I was asking how you change the list to table. Can you?
Yes. Go to the transform tab. There should be a tab called transform tab.
Transform tab, right?
Yeah, there should be an option called to table, but to table will appear only on list type. Okay. So let me show you once more.
In the list tab, if I right click, then there is a to table option is there.
Yeah, click on that. Click on that.
Okay, click on it. It is select the delimiter, and after that, how to handle extra columns.
What do you mean how to handle extra columns? I didn't get your question.
In to table, a message box come and there is 2 options.
Yes. Just ignore that. It is for error handling. Okay. Just ignore that. Just click on OK.
Okay, I got it. Now there is 2 column 1 and column 2.
No, there should be 1 column, but the 1 column should be concatenated together with a colon. You have to split that one. Like it should be like this. It should be like this.
It is already split.
It should be like this, ideally.
I think it may be due to the reason in 2 column I have selected that separator colon, and that is why it may be already
okay. Yeah. If you have this schema, then it's perfect. There's no error in that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So anytime. So let me split this column again. Okay. So split column by delimiter, and this time we have to be very careful. Okay. So we are using underscore as a delimiter, but as you can see, there are lots of underscore in each cell. Okay. In some places there are 3 underscores, some 2 underscores, some 4 underscore. Okay. So we have to be careful. So what we will do, we will use leftmost delimiter. Okay, that means Yummies will be separated from the rest of the string. Okay, if we use leftmost, And if somebody has yummies at the end, so they have to click on rightmost. Okay, so I'm clicking on the leftmost delimiter. See, we have store name and column. So let's verify the store name. List may be incomplete, load more. See, there is only one name in this column, that is your yummies. Okay, so click on OK, and we will rename this to name, store name. Okay, cool. Now let's talk about this column. So as you can see, the city, that is which is Kolkata, and the area which is Park Street. And if you consider Baliganj, then Kolkata underscore Baliganj. If you consider Delhi Connaught Place, say new underscore Delhi underscore Connaught underscore place. Okay, so it is a bit tricky. So let me show you. So we will, in general, the leftmost delimiter separates out the city name and the area name. Okay, but it is different for New Delhi, right? The city name, if we split the column using leftmost delimiter, only new will be the city name. Okay, which is a wrong answer, right? So let me show you. Split columns by delimiter, leftmost delimiter. Okay, see, there is only new, but Delhi Connaught Place is here. Okay, in the area part, but the value should be new, and the Connaught Place should be the sub area part. Okay, so what we will do, is there any question?
Yeah, Rajan.
Yeah.
Rajan, somebody out here has again given a question. Can you repeat what you said just now? Maybe that delimiter, how you are delimiting and adding columns, like for the store name Yummies, it's a different one, then followed by Kolkata, then followed by Park Street. They want to again repeat the whole instruction.
Okay, yes. Okay.
Yes, up till this it was clear. Then maybe how to add the delimiter on the left hand side in order to differentiate both the columns.
Right. Okay. So delimiter, as I told you before, delimiter is nothing but a separator. Okay. So if we mention delimit using separate one string into two parts using a particular delimiter, which is underscore, then this entire cell will give you 4 columns, like 4 parts: street, park, Kolkata, and yummies. Okay, so Power BI gives you an option to pick a specific delimiter. For example, the leftmost delimiter, which is this one. So using the leftmost delimiter, if we split a string, then Power BI will give me 2 columns, which is yummies and is Kolkata Park Street. So that does that make sense?
Yes. You go ahead. Yes.
Okay. So this is exactly what I'm doing. Right clicking on this column header and splitting it by a delimiter, and we have underscore and leftmost delimiter. Okay, yeah, clicking on OK, then we have store name separated and the address. Okay, so let me rename it. Yeah, store name. And yeah, I'm not renaming this column because we are going to do further operations on that. Okay,
fine.
So yeah, so same logic applies in here also. So we have separators like delimiters in here also. Okay, so if you click on this particular cell, we have 2 delimiters. If you click on this particular cell, we have a 1 single delimiter. But in that case, we have 3 particular delimiters. Okay, delimiters. So in most of the cases, the first part is the city name: Kolkata, Mumbai, and exception for New Delhi, because if we do the first part separation, we will only get new. Okay, so anyways we are doing that because let me just show you. Split column by delimiter underscore leftmost delimiter. Okay, so ideally this column should give us the city name. Okay, but new is the error. There is no city called new. Okay, New Delhi is correct, and at the same thing goes for this column also. Park Street is correct, Baliganj is correct, Andheri is correct, but Delhi underscore Connaught underscore place, it is not correct actually. Connaught place only should be the area name. Okay, so in that case, we will just click on this column, right click on that, replace values. I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
Again, yeah, I'm showing that again. Right click on that,
Right
replace
click.
values.
Replace values.
Yeah. So what value to find, which is NEW, and replace with nothing. See, we do not have a new part in here. We have just a space separated, just a space, nothing else. Okay. So coming to the answer to the Arijit sir's question, he said that what if there is some garbage value in somewhere in the middle. Okay, so we have to look at this by this way. Click on the drop down menu. Okay, just in here, drop down menu, load more. Okay, you will be able to see all the distinct values in this column. Okay, you'll be able to see all the distinct values in this particular column, but there is 2 Kolkatas here. We'll deal with this later. But apart from that, we have Mumbai, Kolkata, and blank. These are the distinct values across this particular column. So if we have some garbage values in a particular column, we have to just take a look at what the garbage value exactly is. So the garbage value would appear in here. Okay, so we'll just replace the value with null, and just like I did in this step. Okay, in this step I just replaced values with nothing. So Arijit sir, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So now moving on to this column. Okay, so we have Delhi Connaught place. Okay, I did a mistake actually. I did a mistake. We don't have to replace with null. So we have to replace that with Delhi, New Delhi, right? Okay, yeah. This was my mistake actually. So click on OK. We have New Delhi in here instead of nothing. Instead of only new. Okay. So far are we on sync? Everyone?
Yes, Rajan, yes. One thing I wanted to just assure that about these three records, Delhi underscore Connaught place. So can we again put a delimiter, or can we replace the value of Delhi underscore Connaught place with Connaught place itself? So that everybody would be clear about how to replace the values.
Yeah, exactly. We will exactly do that. We will replace the value Delhi underscore Connaught underscore place with Connaught place. Okay.
Yes.
So we will just right click on that, replace values to find, which is
Delhi.
Delhi underscore CONNAU. You know what? This is difficult because if you have a Connaught place is okay, but if you have something Russian name, what would you do? Would you write the entire thing in here? No, there is some easier trick for that also, because see, so far whatever I've done can be done in so many different ways. Okay, this is my thought process, and I thought these steps will be easier for the students actually. So yes, we can achieve our data cleaning part in very short steps as well. Okay, so this is my thought
really process. A wonderful one. No. It's like an hands-on session where we are starting. We are giving a session for the beginners.
Yeah, so exactly.
Even we are able to understand like this. Okay.
Thanks.
Please carry on.
Okay. So I will not exactly replace that value. Instead, what I'll do, I'll split that column using a delimiter again. So split column by delimiter, and each occurrence of the delimiter, click on OK. So let's see what happens. See what happened. Park Street, okay, makes sense. Park Street. Then Baliganj, null, null, because Baliganj was the single word. There was no delimiter in the Baliganj string, okay. And same for Andheri. Andheri, then delimiter east got replaced by Andheri East, and then Delhi cannot place, okay. So we do have so in that case, what we can do is merge these two columns, merge columns, and separator should be a space, okay. Then so that we can obtain cannot space place, okay. We just merge these two columns and see we have cannot place, but we have so many null values in here as well, okay. So so let me think. So what about Delhi? So again, in this particular column, we will replace the Delhi with null. Replace values, Delhi with null, nothing, okay. See, all the Delhis got removed. And then what we will do, we'll again concat these two columns with space. Merge columns with space. Let me show you. Okay. So we have Park Street, Baliganj, Andheri East, Connaught Place. Park Street and Connaught Place is in New Delhi. So that actually looks more clearer. But if you observe closely, you can see that there is a difference between all the other fields like Park Street, Baliganj, Andheri with Connaught Place, because there is a single space over there. Okay. So what I will do, I'll just right click on it and change type. No, not change type. Transform trim. Okay, what trim is? Trim is the process of removing the spaces before and after a particular word, okay, particular string.
Like L trim, R trim of
exactly.
Basic,
Yeah, exactly.
just like that.
Exactly, that's like that. Exactly that one. Okay, L trim and R trim, and trim is combined effort of L trim and R trim. Yeah, L trim plus R trim equals trim. Yeah, exactly, both ways. So we just apply trim and see Connaught Place is in there. Okay. So far we have cleared this part. Okay, so let me check the different, distinct values we have in this field. Let's click on load more and see there is Andheri East, Baliganj, Connaught Place, Park Street, which is perfectly correct. Okay, so we are done with this column. So we just rename it and say area. Okay, what about this column? Okay, let me check the distinct values in this column. See, we have two Kolkatas, one Mumbai, one New Delhi. So there is a difference between these two Kolkata. From the first Kolkata, K is capital, and the second Kolkata, K is smaller. Okay, so we have to capitalize the smaller K. So for that, we will do right click on the column, transform, capitalize each word. Okay, then again check that. See, we have only one Kolkata, one Mumbai, one New Delhi. So I think so far we are good.
So far so good.
Okay, yes. Okay. So we just rename this column with city. Okay. So now we have store ID, store name, city, area, but a big problem is here. What the problem is? Redundancy. So we have around so many data, right? So we will just remove the redundant data. So click in the top left corner in here. Remove duplicates. Where is it? Remove duplicates. Yeah, remove duplicates. and see, we have only 4 columns, 4 rows in that. Okay, so we have store ID, store name, city, area in a particular table, and then we will do the entire stuff for products also. Okay, so let me click on product ID, product name, production cost, selling price. Okay, for a particular product, and let's not worry about these 2 columns for now. Okay, so we have selected these 4 columns, and again we will concat these columns. Say product, separator should be colon. See, we have a product. Okay, so again we will just do the same operation. Right click, add as new query, product. We have a list type, we will convert to table, and we'll ignore that part, error handling. Okay, done. So we are in this position right now. So again, all the steps, right click on that, split column by delimiter, which should be colon, leftmost. Okay, we have now product ID, rename this column product ID. Okay, and in this column, see, we have product names underscore product color underscore type underscore then colon. Okay, then colon selling price and then buying price. So let me undo something. Okay, let me undo some spaces. I didn't recognize these colons in here. Okay, so what I would do, I would go to the split column delimiter in this particular step. Okay, so click on this settings button in here. So I clicked on leftmost delimiter. Instead of leftmost delimiter, click on each occurrence of the delimiter. Okay, so click on that, and here we go. Okay, so what I did is that I went to the particular step where I splitted this column, and I again repeated this step to split the entire string into 4 parts. So I hope that makes sense. So let me rename this column first. Okay, it should be production cost. Okay, and insert in steps. Okay, because I am standing at a particular previous step. Okay, if I click on insert, it will insert a new step after that, but it won't hamper anything as of now. Okay, so click on insert. See, there is a step inserted in this particular position. So let me go to the last part and click on that, rename selling price. Okay, so we have production cost and selling price, but as I discussed earlier, we cannot do numerical operations with these values because they are string type. So if you try to convert it to a numeric type, it will show us an error because RS cannot be converted to numeric type. Okay, so what I will do, I will just remove all the RS. So replace values, find the value, RS dot space, replace with nothing. Okay, and then same for this column also, replace values, RS dot space, replace with nothing. Okay, so we can now change the data type of this column, whole number. Okay, so far we are here. Okay, we can now split this column into 3 parts as well. Split column by delimiter, which is an underscore each occurrence. Okay, so this should be the name of the product. Replace, where is it? Rename. Okay, I think my machine got hanged. Give me a minute. Okay, my machine got hanged for some reason.
Okay, sure. Take a while. Take a while.
Yeah, I think it's okay now. I think it's okay.
Okay.
Just right click on that. Yeah. So just right click on that and rename product name. Okay, and it should be renamed as color, and it should be renamed as type. Okay, so again we'll have to deal with this redundancy, but before that we'll have to check the distinct values. So we are good with that, I think. P1, P2, P3, which is good. Then color, we have distinct values brown and white, which is good. And the type, it's also good. Okay, so we have product ID, product name, color, type, production cost, selling price, but with redundant values. So again, we will delete duplicates, remove duplicates. Okay, see, so I just removed the duplicates at the end, but ideally it should be really duplicates value should be removed in the beginning itself. Okay, so in the real world example, if we have a lot amount of data, huge data, okay, so all the steps will take a lot of time. So if we do the duplicate removal process in the earlier, then we'll have some increased in this throughput. Okay, so that all of the steps will take less time because the data is less. Okay, so ideally should be the duplicate removal process should be in the beginning and then the cleaning processes. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. So far, is there any questions from anyone? I'm not getting any questions. I think is everybody sleeping or something?
No, Rajan,
Yeah.
everything seems to be all right. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you may proceed because few questions were there while splitting the columns or merging of the columns. Now everything seems to be good.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. So we are good with store column, a store table, and a product table. Okay. Now what about the main table, which is what its name is out. Okay. So we still have this data in here, but do we really need this data? No, we need a reference. So I think all of you are familiar with foreign keys. So foreign key is the concept of referring another particular table with some primary keys. Okay, so I'll just right click on that and split column by delimiter again, and the delimiter should be each occurrence of the delimiter, and the delimiter should be colon. Okay, colon. Okay, and we really don't need this column right now, so we can safely remove that. Remove. Okay, same for product. Right click, split column by delimiter, and see there are a lot of colons in there in each cell. So we'll have to click on leftmost delimiter because we need the ID part, and we will delete the rest of the entire string. Okay, so click on that. We have the product ID, and this is the entire product garbage value. We can say we can remove that because we have already extracted those data in our master tables. Okay, right, so we will rename that. Rename, it is store ID. Product is, rename the value will be product ID. Okay, so we have date, store ID, product ID, demand, supply. Okay, so for a particular date in a particular store for a particular product, the demand was 214, but the store was able to supply only 208. So 214 minus 208, this number was rejected because unavailability of the product. Okay, same goes for product 2 in the same shop at the same date. Same goes for product 3 at the same shop at the same date. Okay, so we have thus 10 years of data. Okay, So obviously data analysts will be very angry to see data, because they will not be able to make any kind of decisions just by seeing at this level. Okay, so we make something out of it. We have to make visuals, okay, so that the data can easily be interpreted. Okay, so we are on fly right now, if you remember, because we have not imported the data into our Power BI cache. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll close and apply. It is top left corner. You can see there's a button called close and apply. Click on that. So just give it a minute. See, it is evaluating right now. From the fly, we have the model created, and in the model, all the data are getting imported. Okay, all the data are getting imported. See, it's importing all the data, and it's automatically detecting the relationships among those tables. Let me show you that. If we go to the data part, it is in your left. You will be able to see that all the our models got filled up with all the data. Okay, and below that we have a model part, which if you click on that, you can see there is a relationship between these three tables, and Power BI automatically detected the relationship based on the ID column. Okay, so if I edit the field name store ID to something else, then the relationship won't be valid for Power BI. Power BI won't be able to detect the relationship automatically. We'll have to add the relationship manually. Okay, so there are plenty of resources on YouTube and on Power BI documentation online. You can refer to those. I know it is kind of getting heavy for a beginner, but Power BI itself is a big subject. Actually, there are a lot of courses, certifications on Power BI, and companies like PwC and then Ernst & Young, they actually hire Power BI developers and they pay them a lot. Okay, so Power BI is a huge thing right now. So okay, so apart from that, so we have Power BI detected the relationship automatically by itself. So we are good with that. So let's get on to the report. So far, do we have any question?
Rajan, it seems there is no question right now. So you may proceed with the visualization.
Okay, thank you. So we have covered the extraction, transformation, and loading part. So we have loaded the data in our system, and now we will make the visuals. Okay, so what can we make from? Let's consider this table first. This table first. So we have demand, we have supply, we have product ID, we have store ID. So we have product ID, right? So let's go down to the product table. Product ID 1, it has production cost, and the selling price. So can we determine whether it was a profit or a loss for them, right? On this particular day for this particular product, right? So we can make a formula which is called DAX formula. Okay, DAX formula to determine that. Okay, this is called data enrichment process. So refer to this slide, the enrichment. Okay, so in that enrichment process, we are determining the profit and loss from this transactional data. Okay, so let me go here and let me expand that. Okay, out. We have a date field, we have demand, product ID, store ID, supply. Okay, so we will add a calculated columns. Add a calculated column, new column.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, what is the meaning of that sum over sign in that column value, column name?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Summation sign. Yeah. So actually, this represents the type. Okay. This can be summarized. Okay. So we don't really bother about these logos in here. Okay, this is just a representation. Okay, we don't have to go to the model and check the data every time. This is just a shortcut. Okay, don't worry about that. It's not summing up right now, but it's can be, you can sum it up at the later point of time. Okay, so
Okay,
that makes
one
sense.
more
Yeah.
question. Suppose during our model, if the name is different, suppose there is a 3 table: out, product, and store. Suppose during the loading, the key doesn't matching. Suppose the product all the column name, and in the store the column names are different. But after that link may not exist between store out and product. Then how can we do that? Can you change the name later and it will do the link? It will connect.
Sure. Let me answer your question. It's a very good question. And so if you are considering that we don't have store ID in here, we say ABC in here, okay, but we have to link this column with this column, right? This is what you're saying, right?
Right.
So what we'll do, we will go to manage relationship. I'm glad that you have asked this question. Thank you. So if we click on auto detect part at this point of time, because the store ID is matching in here, Power BI will be able to auto detect the relationship. That's what it did, okay, while importing the data. But we are considering that no, there is not store ID, there is ABC, and the store ID column is in here is PQR, for example. So we will click on new. We will just manually adding this, okay. Say store, and then out. We are clicking on this table, click on these columns, make this relationship active, one-to-many relationship, okay? That means one-to-many, if you can understand that. Click on OK, right? Click on close. See?
Yeah, can you repeat once again?
Yeah, sure. Delete, okay. Just go to manage relationships. Okay, I think I'm running out of time. It is 4:18 right now, so I'll be a little faster because the session is getting recorded. You can actually refer to it later, I guess. Okay, that makes sense, right?
Yes.
One-to-many relationship. Okay, so anyone else has any question?
No, okay, it's okay. No. You can.
So, okay. So we will calculate profit out of this. See, Power BI has already added a profit column because we are building this column, and Power BI guessed that it will be a calculated column, so it added it. But it doesn't have any value yet because we don't have any formula in here. Okay. So what we'll do, we will try to calculate the profit out of this data. So think of it like demand was 214 and supply was 208. That means minimum of 214 and 208. Okay, that means minimum of demand and supply, whichever is lower, this lower number got sold. That makes sense. The lower number between these two cells, or these two cells, whatever you consider, whichever is lower number, that got sold, right? And we are considering demand means selling. People, 214 people demanded this product, and out of them 208 got sold, and rest of them got rejected because the product's unavailability. Okay, so minimum of demand and supply, if we multiply the minimum value with the selling price, okay, let me show you. Profit is minimum, and this is a DAX formula. That's the DAX formula. Okay, so minimum of demand and supply. Okay, so the DEMAND. Okay, demand, supply. Okay, minimum of demand and supply multiplied by selling price of the given product, right? So if we write selling price, see, we are not seeing anything. See, it's not in the suggestion, right? So what shall we do? There is a function called related, okay, and see, it's suggesting me like other tables field actually, okay. So we will take the selling price of the product, which is this one, selling price, okay. Now this gives me my revenue, okay, on that particular date, on that particular product, in a particular store, okay, minus, if we do production cost multiplied by supply, okay, then let me write it down. Sorry, it should be related production cost, okay, it should be multiplied by supply, okay. So let's add braces in here, right? We have a formula. If we click on the tick mark, then it's working on it, and then it gives me a value, which is my profit, okay. So I guess we're running out of time, so I'm not calculating anything else for the time being, okay. So just let's get on to the visualization part quickly. So firstly, we'll add profit with respect to year and month, and then we can add some visual on supply demand versus year, okay. Let's work on the supply demand versus year first. So we will click on a particular visual, okay. So in that, if you click on that particular visual, you can see axis, legends, values, tooltips, etc., etc. So what does it mean? Axis refers to x-axis by default in Power BI, okay. Legend is kind of z-axis. If it's not a 3D chart, but it's kind of a z-axis. For example, legend represents the different different field values, which can be different by identified by colors. Several colors represent categories of something. This legend part is a bit tricky. You can Google it by yourself to get a clear concept on that, okay. So we will determine the supply demand with respect to date. So if you drag and drop this date field in here, x-axis, okay, we'll have year, quarter, month, day. So we are not worried about day, month, and quarter. We will only deal with year, okay. So in values should be supply and demand, okay. So values should be supply and demand. See, okay. So this is the result we are seeing right now. It is actually based on our entire business, okay, because there is no filter applied. Like, this is the result of all store from all city, all location, and for all products, okay, and for 10 years of data, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, okay, so on. So this is the entire picture of our business. So as you can see, in 2010 the supply was high and demand was low, okay. So we were able to satisfy all of our customers, but at the same time some products got wasted, because as I told you earlier that each product lasts only one day, okay. But as the time progressed, that as you can see, the demand and supply both got increased, but the increment rate of the demand is higher than supply. You can probably see that, right? Increment rate is higher than supply for demand, okay. So in 2019 demand is more high than supply. So we have to work on these recent days, actually, after 2016 onwards, okay. So the decision makers have to take any decision. Maybe they need to work on their supply chain. They need to find out why in the year 2017, 18, 19, and probably in 20 as well, the supply, we couldn't meet the demand, okay. So this is
Rajan, one question from my behalf. is, can we get a three-dimensional view of this particular graphical representation where
Yes.
we would be able to not only see the x and y axis, maybe location wise what are the supplies and demands yearly.
Yes, yes, you are absolutely right. We can
Yes.
there are a lot of options actually. You have to find the 3D options. Okay, maybe there are charts, 3D charts as well. And if you click on this, get more visuals and get more.
Supposingly, if I wanted from Kolkata Park Street Place
Yes, yes, yes,
and
yes, yes.
location wise
Yeah,
yearly supply
yeah.
and demand.
Yeah, exactly. I get your point. So I don't think we have by default 3D visuals, but of
Okay.
course you can get more visual 3D visuals from Microsoft Store, but we have to have work email ID.
Okay.
Like for example, my current work email ID is rajan@ovens.com, for example.
Okay.
So but that doesn't mean that we cannot achieve that. Okay, so just
Fine.
you are talking about just to add a filter, right? So if we add a filter, location filter on a date year filter, then we will be able to see that. Let's check it out. So there is a there is a visual called slicer. Click on that.
Fine.
Yeah, click on that particular slicer visual and bring date in here. Okay, and
Fine.
yeah, click on the drop down field and click on date hierarchy. Okay, date hierarchy.
Fine.
Remove day, month, quarter. We have years. See, we have
Years. Yes.
Yeah, we have years. So if we click on 2019, we'll be able to see only the year 2019. Okay.
Okay.
If we press Control and 2018, then 2018 and 2019 data, and so on. But
Fine.
what about for a single store, right? So again, we'll do the same logic. So we will click create another slicer, and we will in the store from let me take the store name from the store table. Okay, store name.
Fine.
So the Yum is okay. There is only one store, so that doesn't make any sense for me. But we will add the location filter. Okay, city filter. Yeah.
City.
So
you have many cities.
Yeah. 3 cities. So I think area will work better in here because we have 4 areas.
Yes.
As you can see, there are Andheri East, Paliganj, Connaught Place, Park Street. So if we click on Paliganj, this is the data related to Paliganj. And if you click on 2010, 2011, these are 2 data which are related to Paliganj shop and only for 2010 and 11.
Fine.
Okay. So using these filters, we can add more visuals and add more insightful dashboard. But as we are running out of time, I think I should wrap it up now. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, please go ahead if you want to say anything.
No, Rini, the mic is yours. Rini is there? No.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So does anyone have any questions? Like any confusions? They can directly unmute themselves and ask me. That's not a problem. In any language, whatever you want. I guess there is no question, but I think it was a kind of a hard session for them because one day session is kind of a lot for the students actually. So there are courses on Power BI. There are Microsoft certifications on Power BI. Okay, you can definitely check that out online. And if you master Power BI skills, then it will add an extra feather in your hat. Like it's a kind of one of the best trending technologies out there in the world right now. Power BI desktop. If you search online, and there are lots of opening in the PwC, then UI, CTS. So they all work in Power BI. Okay. So I would highly recommend you to watch videos from the guys in a cube and look for this logo actually. Okay. those for this logo. They may make awesome videos on Power BI and data analytics. Okay, so do check them out. And again, shout out to Third Eye Data and Ovon's, my current company. So with that said, I am concluding this session for today. And if does anyone have any questions related to anything else, actually, not necessarily be in this particular topic. So I guess we can conclude this session today now. So thank you so much for attending this session.
So thank you so much for this wonderful session. It was very much informative for us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now I would like to call Inaduti ma'am to present a small token of appreciation. Ma'am, please.
Yes, Rini, thank you. Rajan,
hello.
Hello, Rajan.
Hello.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
No, sir. Rajan, sir, can you share your email ID with us?
Yeah, sure. It's rajan.brahma@yahoo.com. Let me wait a second. How can I send a message in here?
So
okay.
you can write it in the chat box.
Yeah, I'm searching for the chat. Okay, yeah, I got it. Okay.
Just on the right hand side. Yes.
Okay, I have shared my email address. So if you have any questions, then reach out to me anytime. Okay.
Yes, I guess everything comes to an end with a good note. That thank you, Rajan.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and it's an awesome, it's an awesome experience that to address my youngsters. Like you guys are actually the future of India. Trust me, and it's an awesome feeling that I passed out from this college, and today, by God's grace and for thanks to all my mentors who have trained me so well, so that I can give a presentation, a tutorial for upcoming students. So thank you so much for that.
A little token of appreciation over here, Rajan. A certificate of appreciation from our end.
Thank you so much.
Rajan, for being there for us, for the department and the institute. It was such a wonderful session, especially the hands-on Power BI. This is what we actually want from the alumni, and we can get best out of them. So thanks for this beautiful session, Rajan.
Thank you so much.
With this note, we are going to conclude this session, and I would put sincere gratitude to our principal ma'am, Professor Dr. Shutapa Mukherjee, for always encouraging and supporting us in every endeavor. We would also like to extend our thanks to our former Dean Academics, Professor Dr. B.N. Chatterjee, for guiding us right from the inception of the workshop. We would also like to express our gratitude to our registrar sir, Dr. Subhashish Pradhan, for always supporting us. Special thanks to all the respected representatives of organizing and technical teams who have taken the pain to organize such a wonderful session. A big thank you to the students, faculty, staff, and research scholar participants across the different states. Last but not the least, I would like to express my gratitude to the Department of Computer Applications, especially to the students, faculty, and staff members for constantly working day and night in shaping the workshop. Thank you once again. Thank you all.